Hello everyone. We are going to cover one-point perspective, how to draw shapes to create the illusion of three-dimensional depth using one-point perspective. Step one, we're going to draw a horizon line across the page. There we go. So this line represents the division between the sky and the ground. Okay, and it also represents the eye level of the viewer, which is the distance between eye level being, here's a simple drawing of a person standing, and this is their eyeball. So off into the distance, that's their eye level, which is the distance between the ground up to the eyeball, the viewing level, the height of the eyeballs from the ground up of the viewer looking at this scene. Okay, here's our picture plane. Okay, this is from the side view of a picture. So this is our picture, our screen, or sketchbook. And this represents the placement of that horizon line onto that picture plane. TV screen, movie theater, sketchbook. Okay? Don't worry if you don't really understand that right now. Just want to mention that later on. You might have a better understanding. You might get it a little bit easier later. Okay. So this is our horizon line. Okay, so this is above, this is below eye level. We can see things from above. We're higher than things below the eye level, and we are beneath these objects that go beyond this line, this horizon line. Okay, and this is the horizon line. Do we always see the horizon line? No. Sometimes it's blocked by shapes or walls or things. So this was not a transparent, this is a wall inside of a home or a wall outside. It blocks our view. It could be a hill. There we go. So, but it's still there. It's behind these objects, okay, on the surface of the earth. Okay, question. Do you think this horizon line has to be in the middle or towards the middle of all your drawings? Yes or no? What do you think? No, it doesn't. So I'll give you an example here. Oops, get rid of that. So if we can put the horizon line way up here, that means our eye level is the same. We haven't changed height. You know, like some people are 6 feet, some people are 5'2". So they have different, from their perspective, they have a different perspective of the world, different eye level. But on the picture plane, I can put as the artist, you can place it higher. So that means if we have like a tiny little house way off in the distance, there you go, a little symbol of a house here. So we're seeing the ground. This is the ground. So if I fill this in with the brown, there's the ground and there's the sky. We're just tilting our head. We're just like, you can tilt your head, the angle of your view down, up and down. So we're just tilting it down and we're staring more at the ground than the earth. Okay. What about if we put the horizon line on the picture plane way down here? Let's make that darker. Okay, so now it's down here. Now we can draw our little farmhouse, our little let's see here, triangle. It's way down here. So if we fill the ground with the color like earth earth tone, so that's the ground, and then the sky is a blue. So look at that. It's way up into the sky. We can see, like we're tilting our head. Our eye level's still down there. It's we have. So now we can see. Sorry about that. So now we can see the clouds up into the sky. We can see the birds. So that's the sky. This is the eye level. Okay, and this is the ground. Does the horizon line have to be on the picture plane on our screen? No, it does not. So you can eliminate that line. It can be totally off the page. It can be higher or lower. That means, what's an example? So if I sketch out here, so those are my shoes, there's my legs. I'm looking down towards the ground, okay? So my gaze is towards the ground, but my eye levels can still be the same. There's a slight tilt, different elevation change, but if I tilt my head up, my eye level will be higher, but I choose to compose or crop into just the feet at the ground. And vice versa, I can just look up into the sky, and I don't have to have the horizon line on the paper. Okay. For demonstration's sake, for the first exercise, I want to start off with horizon line a little bit towards the top. Oh, before I go any further, I'm sorry, let me back up. Do you ever see the horizon line at a tilt like this? Where have you seen that before? One example is if you're on an airplane and the airplane is turning towards the runway and it tilts, it shifts. The angle's different. The horizon is no longer 0 degrees. It's at an angle. So that's a possibility. Sometimes if you're falling, kind of stressful, like falling, it's like the horizon changes because you're at a tilt, your head. Okay, for demonstration's sake, I'm going to put the horizon line up here in the top, and I'm going to designate a vanishing point with a little X right there. That's where actually, you know what, let me use a little circle here. I'm gonna put it in the middle, this vanishing point. V, P, just 1 point. We just have 1 point for right now. There's our vanishing point. All parallel lines will recede to this point. Okay? Very important. Oh gosh, this is really bad. Vanishing point. Okay. Does this vanishing point have to be in the middle? No. Your objects, the vanishing point can be placed. Let's see. This vanishing point can be placed over here, over here, over here. It can be placed off the page. It can be totally off the page on the right and the left. We might even see the vanishing point for that object. Does the vanishing point have to be on the horizon line? No. You can have this vanishing point on the sky or below the sky. But when you place the vanishing point above or below the horizon line, the objects you draw to these vanishing points that are not on the horizon line, it will look like they're tilted in relationship to the flat plane of the Earth. Okay? So they'll be at a tilt, like a ramp or a box that's propped up on one side. Okay? For today's demonstration, we're going to place the vanishing points just in the middle. And we're going to start off, first thing you do to create a shape, we're going to start off with boxes. We're going to start off with shapes. Here's the flat shape of the rectangle. Let me place that in the middle, towards the middle. So this is the flat plane of the box facing us, the viewer. And for this demonstration, we have 2 points up here, this corner and this corner. So we're going to use the straight line tool to draw from that corner to the vanishing point and that corner to the vanishing point. It doesn't look like a box yet because the top of the box, which this represents this shape, they're parallel sides, but they're receding, and as they recede, they vanish. They get smaller and smaller, the sides, the illusion, and it meets that one vanishing point. Now, to keep it from going way back forever to that vanishing point, we're going to take the line tool, and somewhere along this receding line, this angled line, okay, so we're going to stop somewhere along that line. So I get to decide anywhere along this line to determine the length of this box. So here I'm going to stop right there. I'm just going to draw across, and this line is parallel with this line. Okay, that's important. Because if you don't make it parallel, the sides are no longer parallel and going in the same direction. It's not a normal looking box. Okay, so for this, along this receding line, we will make sure that it's parallel. There we go. And one note about perspective drawing and lines, it can get really difficult when you have all these lines showing up on your drawing. So I suggest periodically just kind of removing some of the connecting receding lines to that vanishing point. There we go, that's easier to see. And with art, sometimes we find it difficult to imagine shapes and forms with just lines defining the shape. So if we just go ahead and take the fill tool and fill in the foreground a value, okay, and then the top a different value, and the ground a different value. That's pretty strong. There you go. So there's our box with kind of like some shading, some basic shading. This is a darker value, this is a lighter value, and it defines the two different planes. And it feels like we can see the top of this box. It could be a bookshelf, it could be later on a bed, it can be a chair, but that's a basic shape. Okay, let's try something else here. We're going to start again a little bit to the right. This box is parallel with this box. Okay, so we're going to draw this. Oops, let me turn that to black again. Okay, we're going to create slightly bigger box shape, square. I'm sorry, rectangle. And this one has one, two, three corners. Okay, so we're going to draw to the vanishing point one corner here, top right corner, and the bottom right corner. And the reason I don't draw to this corner yet, I'll show it a little bit later. I want to make this look like a solid. Okay, so there's our shape. We start off with the shape, and then we determine the receding side. We can see this plane, this shape of the square, this side of the square facing us. This is the side of the square, the left side of the square, and this is the top of the, I'm sorry, left of the box. This is facing us to the left and to the top side of the box. So as we did with this box, along this receding line, this angled line, we have to draw a, determine where to stop this box. So as we go along, I'm going to say right there. And you can stop it wherever you want it to stop it. So I'm going to meet that middle line, this corner line, receding line, and stop. And then I'm going to just draw across. There you go. There's our box. And I take my ruler, I mean eraser, and just erase some of these lines. There you go. How's that look? And if we shade this in just a little bit, okay, there we go. Now on this side, I'm going to essentially do this, do a similar thing. What do I do? Draw first? I draw a rectangle or a shape first, okay? That's 1 point perspective. You start off with a shape. This time I'm going to draw to all four corners. So there you go. Okay, so this is a little bit more difficult. I think it's because of all the lines, the overlapping lines, it can get confusing. So along this receding line, it can be this line, this line, this line, this line. The lines that are receding, going back to the vanishing point. Again, I have to determine when it stops. So I'm going to say right there, draw a vertical line up, draw a horizontal line across. On the bottom, go back here and draw across or horizontal to like connect to this line. And then to finish this off, I'm going to draw a line up. And this can be frustrating because if you're slightly off, it breaks the illusion. The lines don't match up. So, just practice. And using the computer helps. If you have a ruler, it helps. And then later on, you can just hand sketch it out fairly quickly. And it's going to be easier when we erase some of these lines. These unnecessary lines. There's our transparent box. It's interesting, this top, look at the top surface of this box. As it gets closer to the horizon line, it's narrower, it's flatter. So if this box was at the exact height of my eye level, this demonstration, we would not be able to see the top of this box because it's right on the line. Our eye level and the top of the box meet, so we would not see the top of the box. this one, these two are further away from the horizon line. You notice we can, the illusion, we can see more of the top surface of the shape and form. Looks like an aquarium. Okay, we are outside of the box. We as the viewers, these are outside of us, the illusion. Okie dokie, let's clear that. I'm gonna start off with that same similar horizon line higher up, and then this time let's keep going here. Let's see, what should we do next? Oh, let's try this. Let's try a box. Let's establish put our vanishing point right over here, and we're going to create a box here, a rectangle, and then we're going to, let's make this solid, so 1, 1, 2, 3. Then I come back down here, and along this receding line, I determine where it stops. So that's where it stops. Goes across, and let's erase some of these lines right here. Patience. Do you have patience? Yeah, you got to slow down a little bit. Take your time. So there's our box on the right. And now I'm going to put another vanishing point over here. And I'm going to create another shape right here. But this time I'm not going to use that vanishing point for this shape. I'm going to use a separate vanishing point over here. So for each box, they're using a 1 point vanishing point for that box. And because this plane, the shape, this side of the box is facing us, this is still 1 point for this box. It's only using that 1 point as a reference point. Okay? So even though you have multiple, 2, 3, 4, 10, 500 different vanishing points on this horizon line, for separate objects, that's fine. They're all using their one vanishing point as a guide for each individual object. Okay, so that's a possibility. Not everything has to follow this, and that means these objects are no longer parallel. So if we were to, they're not parallel with each other. Try this. Let's create a shape. First off, our vanishing point here, and let's try this out here. What if we ignore this vanishing point? So we go just anywhere kind of randomly. They don't converge to a point. They just go to the, there you go. And then we just keep up with the illusion. This time I'm not going to make it parallel with this line. So you see how it's not parallel. It's at a different angle. It's not perfectly 90 degrees up. And I'll attach that. And then, let's see here. So kind of ignored the rules here. Followed some of the rules, ignored some of the others. So it's kind of there. And you look at this shape. So look at that. Is that convincing? Is that accurate to the box? No, but it has kind of like a box-like shape and form, which you could use possibly for artwork later on. But if you wanted to use one point perspective accurately, then this wouldn't work because you didn't. We ignored this vanishing point. All right, so let's try something different here. Let's keep going. We've been putting the horizon line way up here on the top. Okay, what if we put it way down here in the bottom? And we kind of essentially follow the same rules that we established earlier. I'm going to put that vanishing point down there, and then create our shape up here. So 3 parallel boxes. And I'm just going to draw 1, 2, 3 lines. And remember our receding lines, these angled lines going back. So I have to decide somewhere along that receding line, where does it stop? And then where it attaches to that point, I draw across. There you go. Okay, and let's go over here to this one, just the 2 corners up here along that. Now look at this. If I try to use this corner and I still wanted a solid, it's still there in the box. It's just, if it's an opaque box, it's a solid. I can't see this line, but that edge is still there behind this box. And if you want to make it transparent, you could use these lines overlapping to create that illusion. So even over here, that's the side of the box going back. Okay, but for this one, I'm just going to keep just these 2 lines. And then along this receding line, I will stop and determine where that box stops. Okay. And you notice it's just easier to see. And lastly, we'll come over here, draw 2, 1, 2, 3, and then along 1, 2, 3 receding lines, somewhere along these receding lines, I have to figure out, okay, as I go towards, where does it stop? This one I'll make it fairly a little bit longer. Stop right there. Horizontal line, vertical line. So this is a longer in-depth box going back into space. Oops, I don't want to do that. Cut into my box. And let's see, Control minus on my keyboard makes the little eraser smaller so I can get in here for the little details. Okay, now let's shade that in. That's the ground. This is the sky. And these are the boxes. And now we can see underneath these objects. Okay, we are below these objects. They can be an airplane later on. We can be on the ground looking at, well, they're floating on top of us because there's space between elevation change between the bottom edge of this shape and the flat plane of the Earth. And they're all parallel with each other. They're moving towards that one vanishing point. They're using that vanishing point as a reference. Okay, and the shadows help. I mean, the shading, the coloring helps to create that illusion. Try to minimize the darkness of the lines that we created with a gray line. And it's interesting. It's, you know, the edge is formed mostly by the change of values rather than the actual physical black line. Okay. Okay, let's finish out video with one more exercise. We're going to put our horizon line, oops, let's put our horizon line right towards the middle. And we'll put our vanishing point towards the middle also. There we go. So this time we're going to create boxes, but this time we're going to overlap. We're going to overlap the horizon line. Okay. So first off, we'll start off with this center one. So this box, because it's overlapping our eye level, we are not able to see the left side, the top of the box, or the right side of the box, or the bottom of the box, because it's going to be opaque. Okay, so I'm going to, oops, let me leave that in there for right now. Let me go back to the others, because I need that reference point to draw to for these two objects. So 1, 2. So that box, this side is receding to that vanishing point because these will look all parallel to each other. Let me erase this line right here because I don't want to make it transparent. Okay, on this receding line here, or this receding line, I have to determine where does this box stop. So I'm going to stop right there, just completely, my choice. And later on, when you're drawing buildings, you can use measuring techniques to get the proportions correct, width and the height. But for right now, this is fine. Let me erase that line right there. And then part of the receding line going back into space. I'll remove that. So there's our box, and you notice how the bottom of the box is closer to the horizon line, the elevation, the distance between this and this. So this object is farther back. And what about this one here? You notice the distance between the bottom edge here to the horizon line. This is closer to us the viewer. So objects that go closer towards the bottom, closer to the eyes, are our vantage point. And this one is kind of in between this one and this one. Okay, so let's erase that first. Now let's do this box, which is, this is going back to the vanishing point. Okay, this side recedes, and then we're going to, let me erase this line right here because I want to make this one a solid. Let me leave that alone there for a second. Okay, so what's the next step, guys? So along this receding line, I have to determine what's the stopping point for this object. So right there is fine. And then I'll just draw down. And then I will erase. Okay, we'll erase this portion right here. So it's a solid. And I'll erase this receding line and this receding line. And for this box, let's go ahead and let me get rid of some of these extraneous lines here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And what we're going to do is get rid of all these lines within this shape. Okay, there is an example of 3 boxes that are overlapping. And if we shade these in a little bit, let's see how this looks. And then for the ground, the sky, light gray. Okay, so this is the illusion of this box on our right. We can see this side. This is the side we can see that's receding back to that vanishing point. So the vanishing point is still there. Remember where it was? Like right there? Yeah. Because it's a solid, we can't see it. Let's create a vanishing point. Okay, so if it was transparent, how would this work? Okay, so let's create a transparent box. So we created the horizon line, vanishing point, and then we created the overlapping rectangle or the square. Uh, Now we're going to draw from the vanishing point to the four corners. Okay, so remember the receding lines as it goes back. I'm going to stop right there, and this will be the back portion of the box. Where it meets that portion, we draw across, and then we draw vertically, and hopefully, eh, that's close. There you go. They're meeting. And then I just need to erase some extraneous lines here. So this is the line that I would remove. Okay. Going back, connecting from the corner, continuing receding lines, remove that line, this line. And I think I'm going to keep everything else. Let's just double check. There's our transparent box, and we can see through it. We can see the horizon line. It's an open box, or we can see through it. If I were to create another box over here using that same technique, so I start with a rectangle or a shape, draw two, okay, and then along the receding lines, stop anywhere along there. I'm going to connect that point, then draw across until I meet that line, that corner, draw down until I meet that corner, and then, oops, that's not going to work. This is where it gets tricky a little bit because I have to be really accurate. Okay, there's our box, and let's go ahead and remove these extraneous lines, the guidelines, so we can see our box. And this is transparent. Yeah, drawing with the mouse is not easy. Erasing all this stuff. Be careful if you're drawing with the mouse. Take a break once in a while. Don't strain your hand. Okay, so there's our, at a slightly different vantage point, this box, going back using the same vanishing point. Okay, well, I wonder what would happen if I colored this in a little bit. Does this make it easier to see the box, guys? Okay, there you go. Another video I'm going to go over how to do different shapes like cylinders and cones and and different shapes that don't start off that they doesn't start off with squares as shapes. So that's the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, and have a great day. Bye bye.